Alright guys, let's talk about 8 motorcycle myths that you should not be believing because they're myths. I'm just gonna break them down for you guys. Let's do it. Alright, so myth number 1 is if I ride motorcycle, and I've heard this from people all the time. They're like, I can't ride motorcycle because if I rode motorcycle, I would die or I would get locked up because I'd be going so fast. This is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard, unless you're talking to a dead person who just died in a high-speed car accident. You know what I mean? What this person is saying is that they have zero self-control, and people who have no self-control absolutely do end up in jail or they end up dead. But the person who is saying this is not driving their car as fast as they can all the time and constantly running from the law. So I doubt that they would ride a motorcycle like that. This is just an excuse to tell you because their wife won't let them get a motorcycle. And probably the person who's telling you this doesn't even drive a fast car anyway. You know, it's just a dumb excuse. Worst myth possible. Myth number 2. This is the tire mold myth. And I'm not talking about like mold as in like the white stuff or the green stuff or the black stuff. The myth is that when you put brand new tires on, that they're real slick. And there's been a lot of wrecks that happen for people who put brand new tires on. And they blame it on, spray some like, silicone or lubricating stuff inside the tire mold. So when they pour the tire and they make the tire, that it allows the tire to come right off. Myth has been busted. It's just not true. I'm reading articles from people who, like the CEO of Michelin and their tire companies. One, tires don't need anything else to pull off the mold. They come off the mold very easily. So what is the issue? Why are people wrecking their bikes as soon as they put brand new tires on? And the reason is there's a chemical reaction that the tire needs, and it happens through heat cycles. So what you need to do is you just need to put a couple heat cycles through the tire. When we say heat cycle, it being cold and then getting it up to its higher temperature and then bringing it cold again just from riding it, that's gonna cure and finish curing the tire, and then you'll be able to go. So when you do get a brand new tire, don't go out unless don't try to drag me right away. Do a couple, if you're on the track, do a couple cold, do a couple warm laps, you know what I mean? Not pushing it to the limits. After a couple heat cycles, after a couple laps of warming it up, you should be fine and you'll be good to go. Myth number 3, motorcycle helmets are only tested at 13.4 miles per hour. So how are they going to protect me at highway speeds? And yes, this is true. Partially the reason that they're tested at that speed is because that's what terminal velocity is of the helmet. So if you were to drop your helmet from any distance, it would only reach 13.4 miles per hour. But obviously because we were riding motorcycles, we are able to project the helmet at speeds much higher than that. But ultimately what this is this is just a scale, it's just a ranking. It's a scale that they chose. This is how we're gonna measure the helmets, and everything will be measured against that, so we know if it gets better or we know if it gets worse. It's just like what they do when it comes to cars. They test cars at 35 miles an hour. They do a frontal impact test, they do a side impact test. We all know that cars drive more than 35 miles an hour. It's just that's an actual range that we can actually see something and test something. If you were testing cars at 150 miles an hour, every car would just be destroyed. And most accidents are not a full frontal or a full side-on accident. Another reason about them testing about these helmets is that most accidents are not you and your head running into a wall at high speeds. Most likely you lay the bike down and the impact is not you hitting the thing you're hitting or while you're laying it down. The impact is you laying down off your bike and you hitting the thing sideways. They say the 2 most common places and every time someone gets in a motorcycle accident, they actually take your helmet and they actually study it. 25% here, this chin piece, 25% here. This is what's gonna hit. So you might be going 65 miles an hour, but if you lay the bike down and you fall off the bike sideways, that's not hitting the road at 65 miles an hour. They actually tested that most helmets that are in accidents are getting impact brakes that are less than 13.4 miles an hour. Here is possibly the most controversial one on the entire list. You've got 2 parties. One, loud pipes save lives. And the other party, which is the party I'm in, is I'm not so sure. So loud pipes save lives. What this should really say is loud pipes are just plain cool, and gives us a good reason of why we should be able to ride around with bikes that are ridiculously loud. I don't think loud pipes save lives. When I see a set of Vance and Himes pipes, you know, run out of the building holding like 2 kids on their shoulders, you know what I mean? Then I'll be like, okay, loud pipes save lives. But when my cell phone battery is at like 1% and it's almost about to die, and I have like a 2-hour trip in front of me and I want to watch some more YouTube, and a set of Cobra neighbor haters hands me a battery pack, I'll be like, okay, loud pipes save lives. I just don't believe it. Now someone contacted me the other day and they're like, I can tell you that loud pipes save lives. It's 100% true because I have loud pipes and I've never gotten in a bike accident, or I've never been hit by a deer. And I'm like, well, that's more anecdotal evidence. That's not actually truth. I can say that actually the exact opposite thing happened to me. I was riding a dirt bike in the woods with extremely loud pipes, and a deer ran into me. And that deer was followed by like 10 other deer. So as the one deer ran over me, like 12 other deer jumped over me. So you can't use anecdotal evidence to prove just because you have not been hit by a deer because you have loud pipes does not mean that loud pipes was the reason of why you didn't hit by a deer. I think the whole loud pipes save lives thing is more of an excuse to ride your bike with super loud pipes. I didn't buy a $20,000 bike to save, okay, so let's just say it how it is. Let's just say it how it is. I didn't buy a $20,000 bike to save money on gas. I didn't buy a Srkcycles system to answer the phone while I'm riding. And I also didn't modify my diesel truck to get better gas mileage. I did these things for other reasons, but that's what you say you did them for. And I also wasn't going to the bathroom for 35 minutes. And let's just say, loud pipes are awesome. They may have no benefit to society at all, or myself. Myth number 5, you are safer on back roads than you are on the highway. So the idea is that the highway is super dangerous because of higher speeds and all that stuff, and everyone's driving crazy and stuff like that. Everyone dies on the highway, and everything bad that happens in life happens on the highway. Nothing good happens on the highway at any time ever in your life. The issue is that statistically that is not the case. Because of high speeds on the highway, the highway tends to be cleaner, have less gravel, and have less debris on the highway. The turns are broader, so there's never gonna be a turn that kind of creeps up on you, and all the traffic that you were with is going the same way unless someone like jumps the medium or something like that. So that's probably one of the biggest issues. And this is all according to the HURT report. The most frequent accident configuration is the motorcycle proceeding straight, then the automobile makes a left turn in front of the oncoming traffic. That's not gonna happen on the highway when everyone's going the same direction. Intersections are the most likely place for motorcycle accidents, with the other vehicles violating the motorcycle's right-of-way and often violating traffic controls. Not going to happen on the highway. Only 9% of fatal motorcycle accidents took place on interstates, and 6% took place on freeways and expressways. So it's a minority of the motorcycle fatalities that are happening on the highways. So statistically, you are safer on the highway. Now I understand that a lot of guys who are just riding, they don't feel comfortable going those speeds, and that I'm not gonna push you to ride on the highway until you're comfortable to ride on the highway. I just want you guys to know the actual stats of riding on the highway. In my mind, I would think the safest place would just be going really slow, not going very, very fast, in a place that you are, where everyone is not going very fast. I'm not sure where that is. Myth number 6, I don't wear gear because if I wreck, I don't want to be a vegetable, I just want to die. Now, that's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever possibly heard. So according to motorcycle wreck stats from 2015, out of 100,000 wrecks, only 56 people died. You are 20 times more likely, if you wreck, to just get injured. And this is not including all motorcycle accidents that people don't call in or call the cops or call the ambulance. I've laid my bike down twice. I've never called the ambulance. None of my wrecks are part of the statistic. So it's gotta be at least double or more, significantly more wrecks that people just walk away. They get up, they pick their bike up, and they just walk away and they just get their bike towed like, you know, like a man. You have the greater possibility of getting in a minor accident with little to no injuries. But if you choose not to wear any gear, those minor accidents become major accidents without any protection. Imagine being drugged down the road about 50 yards. After the first 10 yards, it's going to wear through your jeans. After the second 5, after the next 5 yards, it's going to wear through your underwear. If not sooner. The next 25 yards, or 35, next 35 yards, that's wearing through your skin. Asphalt is very tough. There's a lot of friction. Imagine that same scenario with you wearing leathers. You do the math. It's a stupid argument. Myth number 7: hearing protection is dangerous because you can't hear the stuff around you. Well, clearly that person has never worn hearing protection, because you can hear the stuff around you. It just brings everything down a few decibels so that it's not so incredibly loud. And the reason you wear hearing protection is mainly because of the wind. It's not the pipes. I mean, your pipes really shouldn't be louder than the wind. But when you're riding a motorcycle at highway speeds, the loudest thing that's going on is actually the wind. And studies have shown that people who've been riding bikes for a long time, in their later years, do have hearing loss because of the wind. That's why people wear hearing protection. And it just brings everything down to a quieter thing. So instead of, a big truck honking next to you that's like, bah, really loud, everyth's quieter. And when you hear bah, you still hear it just as loud, because it's still louder than everything else that you're listening to. All right, so myth number 8 is my bike is too light to trip the scale for a traffic light. So in one way it's true, and the other way it's false. It's not a scale. It's not a scale. It has nothing to do with lightness or weight. It does have more to do with size. So it's not a scale. If it was a scale, you would see a metal scale that would move up and down. That's not what's going on. What's going on is there's a loop of wires buried in the pavement of the road near the stop sign. This is called an inductive loop. It operates by sensing a change in frequency to the electromagnetic field in the coil of wires. So bicycles and small cars don't have enough conductive material to trigger these loops or to change traffic lights. The solution, I might be saying this wrong, a neodymium magnet. If you want to do this, if you want to go out of your way and do this, buy a couple of neodymium magnets, tape them to the bottom of your bike. Something that pulls like 7 or 6 pounds of force, and that right there will be able to do its thing with the coils and the frequency and whatnot, and then you'll be able to trip the scale. Now, you could also do what a lot of people do, and if you're there and you're tripping the scale and there's no other cars coming, you can just go. I think they passed a law in Pennsylvania saying that you can do that. That wraps it up. That's the 8 motorcycle myths. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you guys later.